Nearly 10 years after its release, Nintendo has officially discontinued the production of the 3DS. To honor the console's successful run, we sort through more than 1,000 games to present our final ranking of the 25 best 3DS games of all time, all arranged by PlayScore. You can find the complete ranking on our website at whattoplay.com, link in the description box below. Opening at number 25 is Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask. A powerhouse treat of Nintendo's sleuthing superstars, it combined Ace Attorney's court trials and Professor Layton's investigations into one medieval/Wiccan storyline. Players will get the best of both worlds with each game's style, which somehow complemented each other. It provided the 3DS an adorable puzzle-solving visual novel adventure during its time, and it received a play score of 8.87. At number 24 is Shin Megami Tensei 4. Before we reject one more god in the upcoming Shin Megami Tensei 5, it's always nice to look back into the doom and gloom of this previous chapter of Atlus-renowned JRPG. 4's defining feature is the perfection of its demon customization. Players can freely adapt to the brutal turn-based combat using a variety of unique demon synergies and quality of life changes that was absent during its older titles. A play score of 8.90. Number 23 gives us Metroid: Samus Returns. A reimagining of the 1991 Game Boy classic, Samus Aran makes a return and she's putting the 3DS dual screen to her advantage. It's one of the first 3DS titles to fully showcase its 3D effect without having to wear those geeky glasses. It perfectly made use of both displays, significantly improving this side-scrolling gem. CogConnect's Grady Penna stated in his review that Samus Returns takes nearly everything about its predecessors that made them great and introduces new elements that make gameplay feel fresh and exciting. A play score of 8.91. In the number 22 spot is Dragon Quest VIII: Journey of the Cursed King. Anyone with a knack for JRPGs would know how universally loved this series is. Ported from the PlayStation 2 to the Nintendo's 3DS, reliving one of the best Dragon Quest titles deserves a double dib from veteran fans. Like the rest of the titles in this family-friendly fantasy series, it was heavily praised for its JRPG elements, story, characters, and power for a game on a portable platform. A play score of 8.92. Catching all at number 21 is Pokemon Omega Ruby, an enhanced remake of 2002's iconic RPG for the 3DS system. Traveling to the Hoenn region and beating gym leaders for your collection looked incredible and colorful on the 3DS screen. It comes alongside Alpha Sapphire, which gained a play score of 8.91. Omega Ruby's charm was it didn't stray away much from their usual formula, and that's considered A-OK during the 3DS era. It borrowed elements from X and Y while tweaking some of its requested features. A play score of 8.93. Number 20 gives us SteamWorld Heist. Set in a steampunk world populated by sentient automatons, journey across the 7 galaxies as a band of do-gooding buccaneers. SteamWorld Heist introduced players into a life of sci-fi piracy where they invade a collection of randomly generated ships filled with conniving villains and their clueless minions. It's a side-scrolling battlefield where players shoot it out in dynamic turn-based combat. It receives a play score of 8.96. Fight 'em all at number 19 with Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. The 3DS was once the system for players to play and enjoy this crossover fighting game. Before there was Ultimate on the Switch, Nintendo released their long-awaited Smash game for this console alongside the Wii U. It shares all the good things Smash has to offer, including knocking your opponents outside the arena, choosing from a wide variety of iconic Nintendo and third-party characters, and the joy of simply brawling your way to victory. It has a play score of 8.96. At number 18, we have Zero Escape: Virtue's Last Reward. With the success of its 999 title, Spike Chunsoft developed the second installment in their sadistic visual novel series. Like 999, Virtue's Last Reward's gameplay is a mix of visual novel sequences with escape the room elements. IGN scored the game a 9.5, citing that this sequel is more twisted, more brutal, and more memorable than the first volume. It's a thrilling puzzle game that decides the fate of its characters with powerful storylines and 24 different endings. It's a highly replayable game that'll satisfy every playthrough, and it has a play score of 8.97. Flying at number 17 is Kid Icarus: Uprising. A revival of a 1991 game took us into an enchanting tale of Greek mythology. Pit's third outing is as engaging as ever, with even more dangerous lands to explore and challenges to encounter. As a shooter, there's a disparity with its control scheme compared to the modern titles in 2020, but during its time it was heavily praised by most reviewers, including Eurogamer, saying it is a strong, pretty game turned into an essential one by way of its surrounding infrastructure. It has a play score of 8.98. Gotta go fast at number 16 with 3D Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's a good year for Sonic fans, but let's rewind 5 years ago on the 3DS. Sonic looked dashing in the third dimension in this enhanced 3D port for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This spiky blue hedgehog is still in its perpetual quest to thwart Dr. Eggman's plans. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 captures both Sonic and Sega at its best. It's the same old Sega classic made better to suit the taste of the modern generation and as a service to the older ones. It receives a play score of 9.01. Number 15 is Luigi's Mansion: Dark Moon. It's honestly heartwarming to see Nintendo care about the second Mario brother. Prior to his third paranormal adventure on the Nintendo Switch, Luigi carried his massive vacuum cleaner for some ghost bustin' on the 3DS. Dark Moon is a huge improvement from the first game, on which most reviewers cited as a great sequel, including videogamer Sam White saying that Luigi's Mansion 2 is a joy, showcasing a love for characterization and a wonderful attention to detail that gives the game an inimitable personality. It has a play score of 9.05. And number 14 belongs to Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. Straight from the remnants of the Wii, this port surprisingly performs well on Nintendo's portable system. It did have some issues here and there, but to quote Nintendo World Report's Neil Ronigan, it might not be the best version of this modern-day classic, but it's a satisfactory way to play one of the boldest, biggest games in recent memory. Its well-loved cast of characters, coupled with a living, breathing world to explore, prove that this first chapter of the Xenoblade series is a must-buy for JRPG enthusiasts. A play score of 9.07. Did you know your reviews can influence the play score? Register now at whattoplay.com and start reviewing games. Link in the description box below. It's big game at number 13 with Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Capcom's best-selling monster hunting franchise had to start somewhere. This is the last MH game for the 3DS, and it gave hours and hours of hunting for new and old players. Every aspect from its previous installments are streamlined into a crazy mix of hardcore action RPG with endless replayability. Ultimate is considered as the best Monster Hunter portable game. Who knows, the upcoming Monster Hunter Rise might beat that record soon. Ultimate has a play score of 9.07. Racing down to number 12 is Mario Kart 7. Nintendo's very own kart game ruined friendships and forged new ones back in 2011. It brought a handful of new friends into the arena, as well as 32 different racetracks for another bout of victorious competition. Mario Kart 7 proves that Nintendo never fails with their inventiveness, on which IGN stated in their review, saying that MK7 still offers enough innovation to keep this old formula feeling fresh. Now that Mario Kart 8 is now out in the wilds, it's getting rave reviews, and it's a nice reminder that Nintendo hasn't lost its way. It has a play score of 9.09. Punching its way to number 11 is 3D Streets of Rage 2. Sega's side-scrolling brawler made its way to the 3DS in the form of a polished remaster. Before we got our hands on Streets of Rage 3, we had to relive our favorite fights with Axel, Blaze, and Max Thunder in this portable fighter. Nothing's more satisfying than plowing through the city's vermin with your bare hands and pummeling them with devastating attacks. A play score of 9.09. Evolving to the number 10 spot is Pokemon Moon. 4 years ago, we basked under the sunny skies of the Alola region. It was released alongside Pokemon Sun, which received a play score of 9.06. During release, both were already one of Pokemon's best sellers. Like always, players worked their way to the top, becoming a legendary Pokemon master. RPG Site gave the game a 9, saying that Pokemon Moon is a vibrant, energetic game in a manner that Pokemon hasn't managed since Gold and Silver. A play score of 9.11. Coming in at number 9 is Animal Crossing New Leaf. New Horizons might be taking the world by storm right now, but 3DS's New Leaf was also something else. Build new structures, furnitures, and develop a thriving city of adorable characters. Becoming the mayor of an anthropomorphic town is a unique undertaking, and Nintendo manages to deliver a fresh yet familiar take on the farming life genre, with new content and more convenient mechanics. A play score of 9.12. Back at it again at number 8 with Pokemon Y. Yet another Pokemon game on the list. Before the Switch dominated the portable scene, the 3DS was a great hub for Pokemon fans due to its convenience. In X and Y, we ventured into the European-themed Kalos. With their 6th generation Pokemon and their stunning 3D world, Pokemon X and Y is currently the series' best-selling installment during its time. It's the same old Pokemon fun in a new immersive universe. Receiving different reviews, Y ultimately achieved a superior play score of 9.13, while X received a play score of 9.09. Coming in at number 7 is Bravely Default Flying Fairy. Square experimented on their tried and tested JRPG formulas and crafted a whole new IP for the 3DS system. It borrowed familiar Final Fantasy tropes but inserted their own unique combat with a brave and default system. It gained GameSpot's approval. They said, "It is one of the finest RPGs Square Enix has been involved with in recent times." A play score of 9.14. Digging in at number 6 is Shovel Knight, a game lauded for its passionate development team and simple mechanics. Fight in the name of love as we explore a demented 8-bit castle with hallways in need of digging. It's an iconic side-scrolling platformer that reinvigorated the energy from classic 8-bit games. Yacht Club Games successfully bolstered the platforming genre with an enjoyable campaign, fun DLCs, and a much-needed reminder that indie games power up with community support. A play score of 9.16. Hopping into number 5 is Super Mario 3D Land. When a Mario title debuts on a Nintendo platform, fans expect a revolutionary new mechanic that puts their console to the test. Super Mario 3D Land maximizes the 3DS 3D capabilities. The game is entirely playable with or without 3D, but it is highly recommended to remove frustrations and add immersion. It's a treasure trove of all the things that made Mario great, encouraging creativity and resourcefulness, and sharing it to its massive community. A play score of 9.22. Fourth place belongs to Fire Emblem Awakening. One of the leading titles of strategy JRPGs, Awakening is packed with lovable characters, streamlined controls, and fluid grid-based combat. It was everything the series needed to become the household staple that it is. Destructoid gave it a 9 out of 10, saying that, "It may not turn the notch up to 11, it's everything that's right about strategy RPGs." It receives a play score of 9.26. Starting the Triforce at number 3 is The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Nintendo's crown prince of action adventures, A Link Between Worlds is a tribute to the Super NES classic Link to the Past. This 3DS version feels like a fresh new experience with its gorgeous 3D landscapes with smart and seamless puzzles. It received a 9.5 from Polygon's Arthur Grice, saying that it is at once accessible and incredibly deep. It depended on player nostalgia, as it is packed with the familiar sights and soundtracks of Link and Zelda's many quests. A play score of 9.30. Straight to the moon at number 2 is The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask 3D. With the ever-increasing popularity of the series, Majora's Mask 3D was the 3DS remaster that allowed newcomers to the franchise a chance to discover one of the series' best. It tweaked a few of the original's gimmicks in order to suit well into the 3DS screens. It was a massive success with almost perfect scores from major gaming journalists. Nintendo Life even gave it a perfect 10, stating that it is a magnificent remastering of one of the finest Legend of Zelda games to date. A play score of 9.38. And taking our number 1 spot for the best 3DS game of all time is of course The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time 3D. One of gaming's most important creations, this critically acclaimed action-adventure is reborn just for the Nintendo 3DS. It is a testament to Nintendo's love for the franchise, ushering in a new generation of Zelda fans that were not ready for its ambitious future. It's a fascinating story that still stands the test of time, a stark reminder that video games are interactive art pieces that can be fun, charming, and full of heart. Miyamoto's influence knows no bounds in the future of the gaming industry. It truly is an unbeatable classic with a play score of 9.51.